Want to get nuts? Let's get nuts, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Minute Show. My name is James, joined once again by Henry, and we are back. We're really back because today we're going to talk about The Flash, and we're revisiting our Batman series, which we concluded way back last year with The Batman, and since then we've done a couple of other franchises which we're still working through, but that's all on pause now because last night the Flash premiered, and you and I both saw it, didn't we, Henry?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not entirely sure if this held up to my expectation of saying this doesn't really look like a Flash film. This looks like a Batman film they've been trying to market,
Yeah,
because
for
you
one
know,
reason or
I
another.
think I think for the most part, everyone knows there is more than one Batman involved in this. Um,
Yes.
some might
What we
say.
should preface straight away is that the first 15 or so minutes of this podcast will be spoiler free. We're going to basically talk about how we felt, our reactions, and then we're just going to go and dissect the film. It's how we usually record this show, but if you're a first time listener, then don't worry. When spoilers are happening, we will call them out. But the first 10, 15 minutes, we will just assess kind of our general reactions to it. Now, for me, I tried to go in with as open mind as possible. I tried to avoid. I didn't watch any trailers as usual. I didn't. I kept myself as free of information as possible. And I must say, I quite enjoyed it. It was a very entertaining movie. It wasn't
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I will watch it again. Put it that way. It's not like a film like, oh, I hated it. I'm never going to watch it. I was actually like, you know what? I didn't have I didn't have much expectation going into this,
Yeah.
but it gave me a lot of laughs. It had some very unexpected moments in it, and it
Yeah.
had loads. It had bucketfuls of fan service, which was just great for someone like me who's like obsessed with the Batman '89 movie, or Tim Burton's Batman in general.
Yeah.
It had so much fan service for people like me. It had as well for Zack Snyder fans. I would say there was plenty of references, for example, to Man of Steel, which I bet you're glad you watched it now because
Yeah. Of course, always well.
context. Yeah,
Yeah, this film obviously has. It's probably like the one of the most, I don't know, not egregious, but like kind of most obvious examples of like being a crowd pleaser sort of film like possible. And it's not necessarily a bad thing because I remember
yeah,
I watched this like kind of a lot of people have been comparing this to Marvel's, kind of similar version to this,
right.
where it's in
And
Spider-Man No Way Home,
yeah,
where it's
correct
just
me if
like
I'm wrong because I haven't seen any Marvel films since Thor 2, so 10 years going now. And actually, by the way, on that note, when I was in the cinema waiting for the Flash to start, I saw a couple of trailers, obviously. One of which was for whatever the latest Marvel film is, and it looks trash. And
was
I'm
it
sat thinking,
what was it called
yeah,
again?
I can't remember which they all. It's all like I don't know. Anyway, I just sat through this trailer and I thought, yeah, I haven't regretted that decision not to come back to
Yeah,
Marvel.
this is the
But I
thing.
believe you did see one of the multiverse films, didn't you?
Yeah, that was it. It was Spider-Man No Way Home, where you have the three Spider-Men.
Okay.
I went solely just to watch Tobey Maguire because it was, funny.
Yeah.
And also you get to see Willem Dafoe, so
Oh yeah.
why not? I mean, having seen that first before watching the first Spider-Man, bit questionable, but still, I would honestly say, I mean, obviously would have a bit of a bias for this because I would say I prefer DC over Marvel films. That I enjoyed The Flash more. It's something I would
Okay.
consider watching again.
Would you
Um,
say the Flash did the whole multiverse thing better than Marvel did? I mean, from your knowledge, because obviously multiverse now is quite a big thing, and obviously pioneered more or less by Marvel.
yeah,
But also, you get it with other sort of. It's beginning to pop up here and there.
yeah.
Now
I
DC's
think
doing.
my honest opinion about this, I think for a film that involves time travel, I think they made some bold choices with it. Like they actually did some things that are quite original that I didn't expect.
Yeah.
They made some calls and choices in the plot which I could actually respect because it wasn't like safe, kind of like, oh,
Mm.
I mean, I'm not going to say what happens yet, obviously,
Yes.
but it's they do make some bold steps in some ways. I mean, something, and this film genuinely does it explains. I mean, obviously every film that involves time travel and multiverses has like that scene where they explain stuff. In this
Yeah,
one,
you need a bit of exposition,
it's as
right?
simple as you can get, really.
Yeah,
They don't beat you over the
I
head
didn't
with
feel
it.
like beaten over the head by exposition in the Flash. To be fair, it was, it was enough. So I mean, obviously those kind of concepts are just generally. I mean, you have to dumb it down a little bit for like just the general moviegoer. But overall, I think I was able to. This being the first ever film I've seen that addresses a multiverse, tries to explain it. I got it straight away, and so that's a good thing. It's not like it was too. It wasn't trying to be too clever. Like Chris
Yeah,
Nolan can be sometimes, for example. It wasn't like trying to do too much. It kept it fairly simple. I mean, the actual physics of like the Flash. Now, I'm not a huge.
hmm.
Well, I don't really care
Yeah.
about
We didn't
superheroes
go to this
outside
film for the
Batman, to be
Flash.
honest. But in terms of the Flash himself, there's obviously quite a lot of physics around his powers that you know only like a big Flash fan will fully understand everything, like the fabrics and all that kind of stuff. That kind of just I don't know. I wasn't that interested in that side of things, but they did enough just to make sure like everyone was on side with it, if you know what I mean.
Hmm. Yeah, one thing I'll say if we get into some of the actual characters that are known in this,
Yes.
um, Ezra Miller, right? Obviously, the most controversial thing about this film, the fact that they actually
He's in
released this
it.
despite his like, GTA 5 profile, in Hawaii and so on.
Yeah, yeah,
And even so, since we recorded the Justice League video when I gave you that quiz about Ezra Miller's crimes, I think there have been more since then.
alleged crimes.
Yeah, sorry, alleged crimes.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know, I think the main reason why people wouldn't want to watch this film is because of him. Either for just the crimes
Yeah.
or also if they don't like him. I will say, when I watched Justice League, I really couldn't stand him. But in this, surprisingly, he did everything that I could ask him to do, and that's just to not be a massive pain in the ass, like the entire film. Um, and I mean, there's something that I can't spoil yet, but he gets to reconcile with how annoying he is actually in quite an
Yeah.
interesting way,
Yeah, that's true.
which it's funny because he gets to be annoying, but at the same time, he gets away with it because it's being self-aware about it, which I could appreciate at least because he comes to sort of realization, has a character arc and so on, which is kind of good. I mean, I assume if you are a fan of the Flash as a character, you'll probably quite like this, and as well for all the
Yes.
sort of outlandish plot this film has. I mean, similar to No Way Home again, where you have Doctor Strange, controlling the universe, or whatever, and changing like all this stuff which goes wrong. This film has that kind of plot at the same time it's anchored around sort of like a family sort of oriented plot as well, which is
Yeah, I
you
mean
can
it is,
people can
but
get behind, I guess.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's pretty safe sort of film, I think. I mean, this would definitely be one you could go on a date to watch, or like it just as a fan, in general. I mean, I think, yeah. Just a few specifics about this movie as well. Obviously, it premiered yesterday, which was the 16th of June, directed by a chap called Andy Mus- Mus- Muschietti. I think I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
And
No.
this guy, actually, I hadn't heard of him, so I looked him up. And this is his first non-horror film that he's directed. This guy's just done a handful of horror films, and that's it.
Yeah, well, you get a bit of a horror ending this and all, but still.
Well, yeah, he did. He did. I think it was well directed. Obviously, this is supposed to be still in the spirit of Zack Snyder. So obviously, there's going to be a lot of, sorry to say it, but butthurt Snyder fans that will resentfully watch this and try and criticize it as
Oh
much as
yeah.
possible. Now, I think if you are, like I said before, if you are a Zack Snyder fan, this film won't disappoint you. I'm
Hmm.
not. I wouldn't consider myself a Zack Snyder fan, nor would I consider myself a hater. I'm probably like, even though he does divide opinion, I'm pretty on the fence. I respect him. I like what he does, and I think that the Flash keeps true to the sort of things that Zack Snyder established. It's not as dark as like a Snyder film. It does lack that like real
Hmm.
darkness that Snyder's able to
Hmm.
always inject into his movies. But I think overall, I think it still keeps faithful to the Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Zack Snyder's Justice League, that kind of trilogy. It
Yeah, in a
keeps
way.
certainly a lot more faithful to that than, for example, Suicide Squad. I mean,
Yeah, 100%
yeah,
easily.
I do want to shout out the fact the music was done by a guy called Benjamin Wallfish, who also did
Hmm.
the soundtrack for Blade Runner 2049,
Well, that's
by the
quite
time, which
something.
is very like, that's
Interesting.
a fantastic soundtrack, obviously. So one of the best, I would say.
Yeah, so we got our obligatory Blade Runner reference so far.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I would genuinely say if you're a Zack Snyder fan, you'll probably enjoy this film. If you're a Batman fan, you'll probably enjoy this film as well.
You'll definitely. I can confirm that because I'm a massive Batman fan, especially cinematic Batman, and I was very pleased with what I
Mm.
saw in terms of Batman. In some ways, now, I mean, we're still not going into spoilers, but I do want to talk about because the thing about Zack Snyder is the fact that, or the Snyderverse, we can call it, because this does fit in the Snyderverse. The main thing is that they managed to retain all the key actors, the key cast. So you have, as everyone knows, Ezra Miller's in this, Ben Affleck's in this. Um, I don't really think it's a spoiler to say Jeremy Irons is in this as Alfred.
Yeah,
That
it's
was
very, very nice to see.
I didn't
And yeah,
actually know that watching it, but he's in it in the first 30 seconds basically. So I was like, oh, that's nice. That's great. So they kept like the main core guys there, so that's important for continuity. But other than that, yeah, I mean, so you've got that aspect, which I think is pleasing, as well as, like you said, more than one Batman
yeah, of course.
appears. So
Me,
that's
yeah, I
also
think the
exciting. And
yeah,
actually, as well, sorry, but just a ton of references, not just to previous superhero films or DC films, but also
just
just
all other films.
yeah, you had like I counted at least three Terminator references. You've obviously got Back to
Back
the
to the
Future
Future.
referenced a lot, Shawshank Redemption. So that was also
Yeah,
pleasing.
and Lord of the
So like
Rings or
it's
something.
not key, I wouldn't go that far, but it's still like it will tickle your like cinematic G spot if you have one. So
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember. Was there a No, no, it wasn't. Yeah, one thing I will also have to say is if you think you will know what happens in this film, like in terms of references and things that pop up, trust me, you probably don't. Like, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. I think
when
you're definitely in for some
there's that
surprises.
you will get a
Yeah.
surprise no matter what at some point. And when we get into spoilers, if someone hasn't seen this film before and they're gonna watch the later part anyway, I think you might think that I'm just like lying about some parts. I'm not. Like there's like the craziest things I've never thought I would see
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
this
Like I did
ever.
not see that coming. Like, yeah, there's some really, really good like they're not plot twists. I don't want to say there are any plot twists, but just the
Whiplash
references
moments.
and some people who pop up are just like wow. Like I did not, and it doesn't. Some of it is actually quite subtle. You could actually quite easily miss it, but if you're a fan and if you are looking out for these things, there's just tons of Easter eggs in this movie. I think I got most of them.
Hmm.
Obviously, probably when I
This might,
rewatch it, I'll
yeah,
see more. But yeah, man, it was very satisfying as a
yeah.
fan, I must
I
say.
think the two reasons why people might not like this the most, well, number one, obviously, if you don't want to watch this primarily because of Ezra Miller's, track record of,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, several different alleged crimes, and the other is that the visual effects in this are kind of all over the place. Sometimes it's really good.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like a PS2 cutscene, like
Yeah, 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 I agree. Some of the CG was a bit off, and I think
just a
that
little
is already becoming a common criticism of this film. There was some CG which is a bit like, oh, okay.
horrendous. I mean, I
But a
normally
lot of
don't
it was
care. Like
actually
we
good
we
as well,
liked we
So
didn't even care about the bad CG in like Die Another Day, but like I mean, then again, this is 20 years later. It doesn't really have.
yeah, and this had a very healthy budget. This, according to IMDb, 20 million. No, or two, no, 200 must have
Yeah,
been
it has to
200
be. I
million.
think it
Yeah,
was
200.
yeah,
My bad.
quite an expensive
Yeah,
film to make.
200 million. So that's a healthy budget. It's going to be interesting to see how it does in the box office. You and me have
I
contributed.
think it
So
will probably bomb. To be honest, most people think that,
you
but
think? Well, we'll
yeah,
see.
it probably will. But just because of Ezra Miller, because all that stuff hasn't blown over. I mean, I don't know why it would, and like his name is just synonymous with like everything that's happened.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway,
Oh,
I
and
think
yeah, we will just get into the plot in just a moment. But I did want to mention one other thing: the fact that or maybe it's just escaped me. I'll come back to it. But I do have a couple of bits of trivia here that's spoiler free, so I will throw these
yeah,
in. Oh, I should add, yes, that obviously following our in depth analysis of the film, we will rank this the Batman elements of this film up against the previous ones. So
Yeah.
89 Batman, all the Batmans, we've already ranked them all in our previous episodes, which you're welcome to go and check out on our channel or on Spotify, wherever you're listening or watching. So we've gone through and assessed all the Jokers, all the Alfreds, all the Cush Gordons, all the Batmobiles. We've ranked everything basically. So, feel free to go back and watch some of them because we will be coming back to them at the end of this episode.
Yeah, a
But
lot of which I've forgotten, so it'll be a
yes,
revelation for me too.
it's going to be fun revising some of these. But these couple of bits of trivia I just wanted to mention. So with his appearance in this film, Ben Affleck has played the role of Batman 4 times in live action films, which is more than any other actor, even though he's never had a standalone Batman film, and he's the only one not to.
Yeah.
Really interesting bit of trivia, I think, there. He's played Batman in 4 different movies, but none of them have been his own movie.
Yeah,
and this is obviously his swan song. This is his last one as well, isn't it? For sure. So
yeah.
and then this is just one sort of. So who's considered to direct this film was James Wan, and you remember what he directed, right?
It escapes me. I remember his name. Saw.
Yeah, he directed Saw, and he basically had a choice. He could either direct Aquaman or The Flash, and he went with Aquaman because he saw it as an opportunity to do something original and unique in the superhero genre. So we could have had a. Well, they went with another horror director anyway, so
Yeah. Yeah.
For some reason, that's the way DC wants to go these days. So why not?
Yeah, fair enough, I suppose.
So yeah, all right. Well then, I think we're going to start talking about the film now. So spoilers will be coming. So be on the lookout for them.
For those, however, who are just finishing this and are questioning whether they should see the film or not, would you consider this having the millionth seal of approval for Batman fans?
I would absolutely, yes, 100%. Go and watch this film. I will. I'm tempted to actually go and watch it a second time in the cinema, which is not something I do often, or I might wait until it comes out elsewhere. But this is definitely one I come back to. So I think that's the highest praise.
Yeah, some pretty high praise. Yeah, especially considering, for me personally, the only Zack Snyder film I would probably rewatch is possibly Man of Steel at some point, maybe. This, I consider rewatching over that even.
Okay. Well, we're going to rank it, The Flash, obviously, up against the other films Batman has appeared in, including Batman vs Superman, for example. So that's going to be interesting. So yeah, let's get into it then.